Good morning. This is the fifth section of the workshop on a framework for a video game using Unity, and today we will talk about the sound effects management. The sound effects are a key part of a video game. The first idea behind the sound assistant is to have a repository to store all sound effects similar to that used with prefabs. In this way, we avoid having to attach a sound to a source scene by scene. Also allows us to change the sound effect associated to a particular event by changing nothing more than the sound assistant. The change will be immediately available to all scenes. The sound effects fall into two broad categories: those that are promptly executed, a shot or a bounce, and those that are a part of the environment, the background noise of a waterfall. Unity contains a method for creating a sound at a certain point, but this method only allows us to set the sound without changing its parameter. The sound assistant allows us to define all the parameters of a sound effect and then output the sound at a certain point. The sound assistant also lets you to create a continuous ambient sound with which we can modify later at will, and even add a sound source to any object. All this functionality is achieved by means of two classes. The first allows us to define the sound effects, the second allows us to handle the sound effects. Let's look them closely, but first we'll see the sound assistant with all the sound effects used by the game. This is the sound effects item. It has fields for a name, a clip, the volume, the pitch, the roll-off mode, and the max distance for the roll-off mode. The sound assistant has fields for a list of ambient sources, the list of sound clips, a flag indicating if the sound is on or off, and the global sound volume. The on and off property gets or sets the sound on and off. The volume property allows to change the global volume. The awake function creates a list of ambient sources and prevents the audio from being destroyed when the scene is changed. The phase update function sets or on off all the ambient sources. Change and source lets to change all the parameters of a sound effect identified by its index. Get ambient source returns an audio source containing ambient source. Play one shot plays a sound clip identified by its index at a position, but it changes all the parameters. This is made by creating a temporary audio gain object with a temporary audio source component. This variant of play on one shot does the same thing, but this time the clip is identified by its name. Set audio source creates a continuous ambient source, and this is the same function but identifying the audio clip by its name. When a scene needs sounds, first thing it's awake the sound assistant. This is done in the first scene, the splash producer, and in any other scene, like in the main producer. First we awake the sound assistant. In this case, the main producer creates a continuous ambient source with the sound effect crown and changes its volume to half. Other script using audio sources is this controller. Every time the disk collides some object, it plays the bounce sound effect, and every time it enters a goal, it plays the hurrah sound effect. And that's all. This completes this section. Find the code in the repository as usual. In the next section, we will manage the soundtrack of the video game. Don't forget to visit my website www.el-profe-vigo.es, where you'll find many more resources on other issues, and don't forget that my website lives of clicks. Thank you for your time.